The first one for me, and probably the one that I keep coming back to, is being clear about your why. This is very important because, fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't matter as much, but we haven't seen the level of success we would love to see, which in a lot of cases I've seen puts back people. It gets them to stop, they give up. And it just takes me back to, like, their why probably wasn't strong enough. When we started this journey, we didn't our primary goal wasn't to make this the biggest podcast ever. Our biggest why, was having this conversation on a regular with each other, with other people, and build a community around it. And that conversation and exchange of energy was our primary goal. And we keep getting that in different ways. And it's changed our life in a lot of ways, just having access to that energy on a regular basis. So before you start, be strong on your why, be clear on your why, and make sure your why is something that is in your control. If you keep doing that, certainly it'll only help you stick around till longer, and success is only a matter of time. So, first lesson, be absolutely clear on your why. Anas will go on for the second lesson.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just the realization coming from you that there are about 70,000 thoughts in a day. It's a staggering amount. And I really resonate with this because all of my life, I've been sort of like a distracted person. And when I heard this, it really did make sense to me about having 70,000 thoughts in a day and about picking and choosing between those thoughts. Like you always say as well, be an observer for some and then latch on to some which are important to you.
Yes, amazing. That's very interesting. And the crazy thing is that we're only aware of 5% of these thoughts. So this has been a constant theme on the podcast as well, that thoughts is what dictates your life. So learning to be aware of them and then using them to your advantage. So wow, I love that. Lesson number three: be prepared for the unknown. You only know what you know, which, if you're wise enough, you will realize is only maybe 1% or 5% of it. So you can only plan for the things you know. On this journey, constantly, day in, day out, as you're growing, you'll come across things that you don't know. You'll Things that are unfamiliar, you'll be confused, you'll be lost. But being prepared, meaning just be prepared that the unknown will come, it will disrupt you, it will shake your balance, but that's part of the journey, finding comfort in that discomfort. So always know that as you are growing and going into this unfamiliar territory, there will be discomfort, and there will be times which are situations which are unknown to you and you wouldn't know what to do. But just be okay, breathe, and go through it. Eventually, just by flipping here and there, getting bruised a little bit, you will find your way. So be prepared for the unknown, because it will come.
Yeah, this brings me to lesson number four, which is keeping your policies. It's something which I have always done in my life. And I think having such policies about life, there can be many. There can be one to 99, and one to 150, or even one policy that is basically your anchor point. That basically, just anchors down and sets the rules of the game of your life.
Wow, amazing. We've talked about analysis policies a lot in episode one, which was fascinating to see as well. And I've started making my own policies since then. So that's truly amazing. And it connects beautifully to point number five, which is find your own voice. This is something I realized in my journey as well, of starting this podcast and progressing through it. When you go out looking for more inspiration from other podcasters or whichever field it may be in, that influence can be detrimental to your own voice. It can add layers of things that are not true to you. So again, if you're very clear on your why, if you have your policies laid out and you keep revisiting them again and again, and you lead from a voice within, not from a voice that's coming from outside, that will take you far. It will be authentic, you'll build authority there, and people can very much see that. So always stick to your own voice, learn from other people, but use it in your own way and be true to yourself, because that's the way it's most sustainable.
And ironically, this also connects to the point number six very, very nicely, which is something that you talked about in one of our initial episodes, and that is creating value for your friends. In that particular episode, you talked about how you brought all of your other friends as well to your, at that time, half marathon training. And look at where we are right now. You're probably training them for more than a marathon, especially me as well. And thanks to you, I also participated in my first marathon as well, took my first ice bath as well, and also went on this journey. So, and I would like to add one little tad bit over here as well. It's not it's not about creating value for your friends as well. It can be for anyone or anything that you're in contact with your life. I always say that my purpose in a person's life is to add value, not and just to add generally and not to take away anything from them.
And that's beautiful to see. And we, another constant theme throughout this podcast, when you add value in people around you and in that surrounding, that's what comes back to you when you see a reflection of yourself in them, right? And it keeps reminding you, it's just creating that energy that can remind you of yourself again and again. So when you start creating value for them, that's what comes back to you in return as well. Okay, point number 7. Some days are good, some days are bad. Nobody's perfect. You will have days where you doubt yourself. You will have days where oftentimes you see somebody doing better than you, or you don't get the kind of result you anticipated. Uh, but life is up and down. We see that graph. What goes up comes down, and that's the beauty of life. Finding peace in that disbalance is true wisdom, right? So just be aware that you will have good days and bad days, no matter where you are, what part of the journey you are in, and appreciate one for another, because there is no light without darkness, and it's only darkness that gives meaning to light, right? So appreciate the good days and the bad days.
Love it. All right, this brings us to Roger Garcia, one of our first guest ever on the podcast, and the thing that he talked about, and something that I would like to tie in with what Permeet said initially, is that fortunately, unfortunately, we haven't seen the success that we wanted to. But this is what Roger also said, that anything in his life that he did, whether it be an exam or anything, which he didn't find the outlined success, it was all about self accountability. It was all about looking inside, self reflecting, like why you couldn't achieve your goal, and then understanding, was it something that you could have done more, or was it something out of your control? But at the end of the day, everything ties down to self accountability.
That's amazing. And I think being self accountable and holding yourself responsible for everything is so powerful, because then things are in your control. If you keep blaming other people, then things are out of your control, and that in itself like takes things away from making that sort of progress and growth, because if it's not in your control, how can you make progress on it? So wow, I love this reflection. Point lesson number 9: don't compare. That's the thief of happiness. If you compare, doesn't matter if you're looking at someone below you or above you, it will either elevate your ego or give you a false sense of pride, which is very short lived, or it will make you feel inferior. And these are some things that we don't often talk about, and we may, because we don't talk about it, we may often think that we're the only person going through it. But time and time again, I listen to these great public figures, scientists, people leading in their field. I won't take specific names, but they talk about this. Like, one thing I would want to improve about myself is I don't want to compare. And I was blown away seeing that people at that highest level as well go through something as basic as this, which just goes to show comparison is a product of the mind, is a product of the ego. Ego will always try and compare itself to others to elevate itself, but that is again pleasure seeking. It's not that happiness won't last long. Stick with your journey and don't compare. I would say.
Absolutely amazing. And I think, I don't know what is happening, but both of our points are complementing each other, because what I was about to say is that there's a lesson that I learned during our initial podcast days, and that was, that we're arrogant to think that we have tomorrow. And this came about when basically I got sick because of an infection, and that basically made me a little immobile for close to about a month. And, that really basically drove this point inside my head, which is that I think, again, what you are also trying to say is that we don't need to compare and do all of these things which take away from us, because we really don't have the time. Like I said, we're arrogant to think that we have tomorrow. So whatever that needs to be done, whatever that needs to be said, whatever your dreams are, just go out and do. Don't focus on the external things. Take inspiration, like we've always said, but always remember that you do not have tomorrow. Time is fleeting. It's like gold dust. Use whatever you have and keep taking, instead of draining your energy and draining your thoughts.
That's beautiful. And my mom follows Sikhism, and in Sikhism, there's plenty of sayings, but there's one that's always stuck by me, and it goes "Kal kare so aaj kare so ab," which translates into instead of doing it tomorrow, do it today, and instead of doing it today, do it now, which fits in perfectly with this.